Yo.
Hello, Shorty. What are you doing?
Nothing. Sitting here watching the game, smoking some bud.
Are you all alone?
What's up? What's up?
What the? Who's that?
Yo, pick up the phone. What's up?
What's up?
Yo, Duque, pick up the phone.
Yo.
What's up?
What you doing, son?
Nothing. Just chilling. Killing.
This is the Dave and Creech Show, the only podcast where podcaster CJ Creech and actor Dave Sheridan come together to talk all things entertainment with your favorite entertainers. Want to ask our guests a question? Tweet them to @DaveSheridan or @CJCNOV88, and they may be asked to our guests live on the show. We do have to ask you stay seated during the podcast because this ride may get a little bit hilarious. Now here's your hosts, Dave and Creech.
Hey, everybody out there. Welcome to the first episode of the Dave and Creech Show.
That's right, the Dave and Creech Show, but I'm Dave Sheridan. He's Creech. I don't know his last name. Do you even have a last name, man?
No, apparently not. My last name is Creech, but maybe I should just go by Creech and just go the Prince route and just have Creech.
I feel like we should have got that out of the way from the beginning. Before you started the intro of the show, we should have got that out of the way that, oh, my last name is Creech. So this makes it kind of weird because it's called the Dave, it's not the Sheridan Show or the Dave and CJ Show. You got to put your last name in there, and I got to put my first name, which is fine. So I like it. It sounds cool, Dave and Creech. Okay, so it's called the Dave and Creech Show. I'm Dave Sheridan. This is CJ Creech. That's your name, right? CJ Creech?
Yes, CJ Creech is the name I was given. And I do enjoy that name.
Curtis James. Is it Curtis James? What's it stand for?
It actually stands for, and this is a very rednecky sounding name, but it's Charles Jr.
Charles Jr. See, you actually could have been CJR then too, right?
Technically, yes. And a lot of people are like, well, wait, why don't you just go by Junior? And I'm like, no, Creech has a better ring to it, and Junior definitely makes me sound like I sit at home every week watching NASCAR.
Man, if you were Junior, because I don't know, I know you were going to lose a little weight at some point the last time I saw you, but you're a big guy, right? You're a big guy, right?
I'm still a big guy, but I am a little bit smaller than I was when we last saw each other.
But you're not the kind of guy, when you see you in the name Junior, that's like professional wrestling territory. You know what I mean? That's like, hey, it's Junior. That's like the professional wrestling territory, because that's that kind of irony. You know what I mean? The guy named Junior, and he's just this giant guy that can just smash him to the ground. So, anyway, it's the Dave and Creech Show. How's your holidays, dude?
My holidays were they were pretty good. Busy. I thankfully didn't wait till the last minute to go shopping this year. I waited till like 2 weeks before, so I improved. I improved on my game, and my daughter, seeing as how she has almost technically 2 sets of parents right now, since me and my ex are divorced and she's engaged now, she gets like presents from 4 different families, so she's loving that.
That's good. Yeah, she does well, right?
Yeah.
Good. It's so exhausting, though, man. It's exhausting. And we just got back. We just drove 4 hours one direction to go to my uncle's house for my side of the family, you know, like with the grandparents and the aunts and uncles. It's exhausting.
Oh, yeah.
So the next one we do, I will not be as tired. So, yeah, 2016, we're starting it off. A new pod show, the Dave and Creech Show. Really, we're just going to take over a lot of the stuff you were already doing. I'm just kind of maneuvering myself into it to have a little bit of fun, give myself an opportunity to talk, since my wife doesn't let me talk anymore at the house. So this will get in some vocal warm-ups for me.
Exactly.
With people.
Yeah. See, well, it'll let you talk, and it'll be it helps marriages and everything. The podcast is just all encompassing.
So then we're going to book Marlon Wayans, who's going to be one of our first guests coming on. He's going to be chatting about 50 Shades of Grey. No, wait a second, I take that back. He's going to be chatting about 50 Shades of Black, which will be coming out January 29th, which I have a small little role in, thanks to editing, which we're going to talk to him about why he cut my goddamn scene up so much. We're gonna. I mean, you know what I mean. I'm definitely not gonna hold back and hold back on anything on anyone we ever have on here. Might as well ask him straight up. Why'd you cut my stuff out, man?
Yeah, no, I watched the trailer and I was like, I'm expecting to see Dave at any point.
No, I would never be in the trailer. I already had a small role, but I went and did ADR for it, which is additional dialogue recording, and they just, they cut out a lot of my jokes. But I understand when you see where I'm at in the movie, it's at the end, and it's not like they're going to bring Dave Sheridan on to Dave, here, we'll hand the movie over for you to do 5 minutes of stand-up, So they let you, when they bring you on set, they go, oh, yeah, go ahead. Because you never know what you're going to give them. If you're willing to improvise and give them a bunch of free jokes, and they're going to say, yeah, go for it. And then at the end of the day, they're going to cut it all out. Maybe they'll put it on the DVD extras. That's something we're going to have to talk to them about.
Exactly.
Nowadays, they barely put out DVDs, and if they do put out DVDs, they hardly put out any additional material onto the DVDs.
I've noticed that. I definitely have noticed that. It seems like everything went, starting to Blu-ray since it could hold more, and then they started creating less stuff for it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it costs more money to produce. Even if they shoot behind-the-scenes stuff or put stuff on there, there's still someone that has to, edit that, and produce it, and sound color it, and all that stuff. So for them, it's like, screw it. Let's just put on. We'll add a director's cut, which was basically the edit one before the final edit. They call it the director's cut, but it's like that's the edit that went to the the testing, the audience testing, where they get the cards back and they go, the audience didn't like this scene or they didn't like this character, so they trim a little bit of fat off of it, or the MPAA has to say, hey, you got to cut that scene down 8 seconds for us to make it a rated R. So that's all they do is throw up the previous edit, which didn't take any money at all because it already existed, and they call it director's cut. It's not, because it is sort of the director's cut, because the director edited it and then it went to a screen test and it got edited again. But I wouldn't really call it, in most cases, it's really not the director's cut. It wasn't like the director said, hey, this one's all me. I didn't listen to any studio. I didn't listen to the producers. They let me go off and make my edit. That's not what that's not what those director cuts are. They call them director's cut. That's just the cut before the final cut.
Yeah,
in most cases, it does give a director a little bit of, that is the final chance of the director saying, no, that's where he can finally fight for, the bar scene's got to stay in, and then they come back and show the test audience numbers, and they go, dude, they're not liking the bar scene, and then he goes, all right.
Yeah, and I think what's funny about most director cuts, too, I mean, at least in the horror genre, is it's usually only maybe a minute at most longer than the regular cut. It's usually just like an extra second of gore here or there. Yeah. Maybe an extra side.
That's usually the MPAA. That's, they have their final cut, and then when they go for the rating, the MPAA will say, well, trim that down 6 seconds. Don't, you can't show that dick through the mouth scene any longer than 2 seconds. And so then all of a sudden that version becomes the director's cut. So the version that's not the MPAA, or they'll call it unrated. They'll call it the unrated cut. Because a lot of times if you get a decent director, he doesn't want that thing being called director's cut when it's not really his cut, because it was the producer already the producers already were having some say in the edit the whole time. The studios were having some say in the edit the whole time. So it's not really a director's cut. So a lot of times they'll just say the unrated cut because it's right before they went to the MPAA and made some final cuts. So
I hate to go back to what we were talking about too, but we don't know. Marlon Wayans may want to talk about 50 Shades of Grey as well.
why would he talk about 50 Shades of Grey?
I mean,
Maybe he wants to talk
Because he
about.
spooked in 50 Shades of Black? I don't know. You think he watched that movie? I don't think I've never seen that movie. Have you seen that movie? Did you see 50 Shades of Grey?
I did not see 50 Shades of Grey.
Did you read 50 Shades of Grey?
I didn't, thankfully.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, he has to mention something about 50 Shades of Grey. The irony of the whole thing is Marlon Wayans would have never watched 50 Shades of Grey or read 50 Shades of Grey either if he wasn't making 50 Shades of Black. So the worst thing that ever happened in Marlon's life was he had to watch 50 Shades of Grey in order to spoof and make the spoof 50 Shades of Black. So he took one for the team because nobody has any interest in seeing that, you know. So, well, we'll talk about it.
I'm wondering if there's going to be anybody that was a fan of 50 Shades of Grey to just, like, think that 50 Shades of Black is somehow the sequel.
Yeah, no, it very well could be with the 70-year-old because, you know, the core audience to 50 Shades of Grey were women in their late 50s, early 70s, right? So anywhere from 56 to 80 years old, women were the core audience of that. What made that movie $600 million worldwide? Okay, so now you're talking about your mom, my mom, whatever. My mom's 75. She might see 50 Shades of Black and think, "Oh my God, yeah, it's the sequel to 50 Shades of Grey," because she's somewhat aware that they're making one. Because do you know the name of the sequel for 50 Shades of Grey?
I believe I read on a website it's like 50 Shades Darker or something like that.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. It's called 50 Shades Darker, which is not that far off of 50 Shades of Black. You know, I mean, it's almost the sequel title to the real 50 Shades of Grey is almost a spoof name. 50 Shades Darker, just, you know, that just sounds hilarious. You know what I mean? It's like dark meat. Just cooked a little longer, 50 Shades Darker. Leave it in the oven. This one's been left in the oven just a little longer. You're going to, you know, 50 Shades of Grey was medium rare, or was rare. You know, you liked it rare. Now get ready for it. Well done. 50 Shades Darker.
Yeah, they should actually use that for the trailer.
Oh, they will. They will. Once they hear our podcast, they got a whole year before that thing comes out. When does it come out? In the summer? It comes out next year, right?
I mean, I think it comes out in 2017.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It
Yeah.
will be coming out in January or February of next year. So they got a whole year. So we'll make sure that we turn that little tagline. We'll put a little reverb on it, what I just did, and I'll send it off to Trigger Street, Kevin Spacey and the gang, and we'll see if they use it. Then we'll nail them for $1 million copyright infringement.
Exactly. That is going to be how we roll.
That's my goddamn bumper sticker. You just took it. I did read this one thing. I stayed up at my uncle's. My uncle lives at a lake, okay? My uncle is, 80 years old. He lives up at some lake. Actually, it's a great, it's called, I'll give you all the details. I was trying to keep it, like, really ambivalent because I didn't want all my uncle's fangirls to go up there, you know, take off their tops up the lake for my uncle. But he lives in a place called Smith Mountain Lake in Virginia, right? And it's a man-made lake to power a hydroelectric dam in Virginia there, right? And so I don't know when they made the lake. Let's just say it was 85. You can Google it. So what they did was they dammed up this valley up on Roanoke, Virginia, and they paid off these farmers in this town, Smith Mountain, they bought the town, and then they flooded them out, right? So that this town, the churches and the old police station and the mail, you know, the Mayberry, this Mayberry type town is buried 200 feet underwater right now with the cars and everything, right? I mean, whatever people left is there, old tractors, it's underneath the water. at this lake. And so, like, scuba divers, you know, they take, like, the aerial photos. They take, like, the old aerial photos of what they had there in the 80s or whatever of the town, and they go to try to find, you know, they scuba dive and go down there and kind of treasure hunt, you know. So I always wanted to do, like, because that's really, like, it's just free production value to get underwater camera shots of just this flooded town, this creepy town, you know. And we could just do a kind of thing where we make up our story that it wasn't, the town wasn't paid off and everyone bought and moved out. They organized the flood. It could just be the thing where it was like flash flooded and everyone died, you know, and it's like this, we can add skeletons down in there and stuff and shoot and have these guys that are treasure hunters that are trying to get to the bank vault, you know, because there's all sorts of money down there, you know, but it's just kind of like this haunted underwater town up in the Smoky Mountains of Virginia. So that would be my movie, you know, that would be the fictitious movie angle, but still base it on some sort of reality of this Smith Mountain town. And, you know, it's real. It's, the production value would be real. So you could shoot that movie relatively cheap for about, you know, $200,000 and have something that looks like $5 million, you know? What do you think?
That sounds actually pretty epic.
Creech, I just want to know, are you scuba certified?
I want to be now to go see that, because that sounds like really epic.
You don't need to see it. I'm talking about shooting it. I need to put a weight belt on you. I need a camera guy. I need a guy that gets in. Can you swim well is what I'm asking, Creech.
I can swim well. Sometimes I have to use my floaties, but other than that, you know, I'm pretty good.
It's 200 feet underwater. You know, there's no floaties now. There's, you know, we put a belt on you with weights, lead weights, and we drop us in with a little iPhone that's got a waterproof cover on it, and you're going. You know, this is no snorkel. We're gonna have a tank on you, or with a rope. You know, what's funny is, so by the way, so when I was up there, I Googled it, and you know, you could read little like urban legends about it, and you could go to like divers.com where they talk about, you know, oh, we tried to dive and find the thing and stuff. There's different diving websites, and basically. I just read that, like, after 25 or 30 feet down, there's really no visibility. So this thing is 200 feet down. These people, you have to have, like, major underwater housing, lighting packages and stuff to even be able to see. It's that dank and dark, you know. So maybe we really won't be able to shoot. I don't know. That actually, you know, if you go to make a movie like that for $200,000, you might as well also shoot a documentary at the same time, because you're probably going to come up rolling. You're not going to roll Yahtzee, let's put it that way. You'll probably be, what's the word? What happens when you roll a bad dice? Craps? Yes, I don't know.
I mean, you could always have your you know, the Heart of Darkness, like with Apocalypse Now.
That's
covering
things.
Yeah,
definitely. Covering the fruition of not being able to shoot the thing, and we're up there, and we ended up casting, you know, just like some, you know, good actors, but dudes, you know, we get some people like a Michael Madsen or something, and he's like, I just got done doing the Hateful Eight gigs. Now you got me up here at Smith Mountain trying to shoot this shit, you know, and he's just drinking, he's fishing off a raft, he's going out of his mind. He's supposed to play the main bag, you know, just like up in a cabin, because this thing is real remote. When you're driving up there, there's nothing, dude. There is just nothing up in this area. But then you get to the lake, and it's these, you know, $700,000, $800,000 retirement lake houses that are just beautiful. But to get there, there's just nothing but farm country and woods. But other, you know, rich people fly in. They fly those pontoon boats in. You know what I mean? Like they land with they've got their big sailboats on this big lake out in the middle of nowhere. But that's what I was going to get at, was we were staying, my wife, myself, and my two kids, who are 8 and 10, we stayed at the house next to my uncle's house. So it's kind of a retirement place. So in the winter, there's no one there. This is a place where, you know, sort of, you could say rich people, or there might be some well-off people, but most of them are just well-off enough because they're retired, but these are really their summer homes. You know what I mean? These are lake homes that they come to in the summer, but my uncle lives there all year round. So at this Christmas party along the lake there, these other houses are empty because these people go there in the summer, to enjoy their sailboats and stuff. So he's got the keys to all these houses because they know he lives up there all year round. And like, okay, here's the keys. So he's kind of almost like the trusted neighbor. And they know that we're going to stay at these houses. So we got to stay at one of the houses next to my uncle. So we had rain, this was our own house, but it was this guy we didn't even know. And his name was, what was it? It was Gerry Over, O-V-E-R, right? Gerry Over. And this guy, Gerry, he must have been the most decorated human being in America, the most decorated American citizen ever. He had just gold medals and bronze medals and all sorts of trophies and plaques. He won all these best salesman awards, and he won all these marathon award medals and stuff. And he just had awards everywhere. And we were just laughing our ass off at that this guy was the most decorated human being in history, that we're staying at his house. We never heard of him, Gerry Over. And every photo throughout the whole house was a group photo. There was not one photo. It was just him and his wife. There was always a big photo of him finishing a marathon with a bunch of people, or the sales team that won the award or whatever. So we could never figure out who Gerry Over was. There was no single photo of Gerry Over. There was just walls of pictures of people with a group of 20 people. So you'd probably have to mathematically figure out the Where's Waldo, which guy, and they were old too. Don't forget that Jerry's probably 80, and these photos were from 1984 and the 70s. You know what I mean? When he won this stuff, there was photos. So there was the young Gerry in there somewhere. It was kind of like the Jack Nicholson thing in The Shining, trying to find where he's at in there. You know what I mean? Where is this guy Gerry? So I went on my last night there sleeping, I took all his gold medals off the wall, the gold and bronze medals, and I wore them around my neck to go to bed. I wore all his gold medals to bed. And he had he had these commemorative award mugs. The mug, these beer mugs that were etched. They were really an award. You weren't supposed to be drinking from them, but we were drinking from them. We were let's drink out of this one was number one salesman or whatever. And it was shaped like a boot. There was this giant, commemorative mug or whatever for winning something. And I was just drinking from it. I had orange juice in it in the morning. I'm great. And the coffee in it. But the medals were hilarious because I was just envisioning this guy. I don't know why he has all these plaques. Hanging in the wall. These weren't that great. You know what I mean? It was just random stuff that just said, recognition of the 100 quota team or something like that, 1985 for Pfizer Medical or something. It was just really random stuff. It was are you really going to hang that on your wall 30 years later? This guy Gerry did. He hung it'd be whatever award you win, you just hang up. Most of them get tossed out eventually, or you put it away in a drawer somewhere and you forget about it. But this guy had them all hanging up. I just envision them being buried. Just envision them being not buried, but when you're in the casket at your funeral, and all you could see was Jerry's nose coming out of all his plaques and his gold medals. And he had some letters from the presidents in there. There were letters from the president. I don't know what they were for, except for recognition. I could take photos and then read them really specifically, but there was letters from the White House. I don't know if the president signed them because there was no name typed. It was just a signature, so I didn't recognize it. But that's when my wife came up with the idea that maybe these awards, maybe he's not a salesman, maybe he's not. Maybe he wasn't a marathon runner, and all of these awards, maybe he was a hitman for the CIA or something, and they could never recognize when he goes and does a job. How when those hitmen, they might save America from a nuclear bomb, and they took somebody out and killed them, Mission Impossible stuff. Yeah, Mission Impossible, but they always say, I'm sorry, but we cannot, this was so undercover that it doesn't even get recognition by the government that this even happened. So instead they send a glass boot and it says broom salesman of the year or something, but maybe that's why he's keeping all these things, because each one of these was a real mission that he went on. He risked his life, he saved America, but they were so undercover that even the government couldn't recognize him. So as a kind of token of them saying, yeah, we do recognize what he did, they sent him these plaques for Salesman of the Year and stuff, you know. It's just like a kind of inside joke with like the CIA, NSA hitman guys, you know what I'm saying?
I can definitely see it. And when you were talking about him being buried with all the medals, all I could think of was that scene in Pulp Fiction, and just imagining somebody opening the casket and it just you just seeing gold, like the sparkle or whatever, just reflecting on the people looking at it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, because you're saying the briefcase that they opened in Pulp Fiction?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think that was? What was that?
You know, I don't know.
Chalice? You think that was the chalice?
I've thought about it a lot, and I just think it's gold bars. I guess they just call it a lack of imagination.
Maybe.
But
Did you see Hateful Eight?
I haven't seen Hateful Eight yet. I've heard it's really epic, though.
In Hateful Eight, when they pull out this letter from Lincoln, right? Sam Jackson, who plays a black man. Sam Jackson plays a black man in this movie. He does a really good job. Really pulls it off. More than Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder. I just think he nailed it. Anyway, but he's got this, you know, he's like a famous bounty hunter guy now or something, and he pulls out Snake Plissken. What's that guy's name? Kurt Russell?
Kurt Russell, yeah.
He says, they've met each other before, and he's like, you still got that Lincoln letter, the letter from Lincoln? He goes, I do. And he's like, can I see it? Can I just see it one more time? And so he pulls out this letter that Lincoln wrote to Samuel Jackson's character during the Civil War, when Sam Jackson was he was on the Union. He was a commander in the Union Army, a major in the Union Army, and Lincoln corresponded with him by letter, right? And wrote him this letter. And Kurt Russell reads it out loud. But while he's reading it, and the letter's off to the thing, it glows in that same kind of gold sort of way. You know, it has that sort of golden glow that happens to it. And it's almost like clearly that's on purpose. That's not something that was like, oh my God, I didn't even realize it. You know, Quentin Tarantino is not the kind of guy who goes, I didn't even realize he did that. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, he's gonna. So I have to go back and watch his other films and to see if there's any other time that people are looking down at something and something's glowing back in a kind of golden way, because this letter illuminated gold onto Kurt Russell as he read it, right? And that's when it kind of hit me. It's like, oh man, like, well, first of all, the first thing I thought was like, oh, is that what's inside? Is that what's inside? You know, like, is that what is inside the briefcase in Pulp Fiction? That it's just a letter from Lincoln? But that wouldn't make any sense. So, but what I did get was that Kurt Russell wanted to see this letter so bad, and it's something he cherished. When he was reading it, he valued it, and it was like, it meant a lot to him, not in a monetary way, but in a valuable way, personally to him. And it it reflected gold. So maybe what was in that briefcase for these people was something that it wasn't of an actual value, monetary value, but it was something that these people all lusted after. You know what I mean? It was something that they valued on a level of personal level of, oh my God, this is this, whatever it is. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
So we'll see.
Well, yeah, we definitely will. I mean, like you said, Quentin Tarantino probably knew that people were going to look into his movies, and maybe I don't recall seeing any kind of throwbacks to earlier films in his other films, but maybe that'll give me a reason to rewatch them all to see.
Yep. You went to Star Wars there over Christmas break here?
I did. I went to actually opening day. Went with one of my friends and saw it in 3D. The only thing that I had kind of crappy seats, so I was like in the front.
In the very front row, or were you like 2 rows back? What do you mean?
Probably like 2 rows back, but enough to have to crank my neck a little bit to look, and just in the right seat where the 3D doesn't really go into effect too well.
Oh yeah, you're a little too close for that. You know, right?
So yeah, that wasn't the funnest part.
I saw it in 3D too. You didn't miss much on the 3D. It wasn't like the movie was not shot to be a 3D movie, so it just had accentuations to it. I hate having to wear those glasses and stuff, but I did want to see it on IMAX, so we saw it on IMAX, and that came with the 3D, and we wore these glasses that made us all look like we were Elton John. You know what I mean? They were just these giant glasses. The IMAX ones were so big, off to the side, the peripheral. I just don't like it because it doesn't really work for me. It makes it blurry in places in my eyes. Even if I had, because we had good seats in the middle, but so that kind of sucks for you that you had to. I was kind of aware that we might get some tight seats. Luckily for us, we didn't. But I was ready to not go to the movie. If I walked in and that was what we had, front row, I would have just went and got my money back. I said, nah. I was not. I'm too old to be like, you know what? I can come back in a week and get a better seat, but I'm not going to watch it straining my neck back into someone else's popcorn, because basically you're like, you're getting your head as far back into that next row.
Yeah.
But so what did you think of the film?
Oh, it was amazing. It was definitely a lot better than the most recent three. There wasn't any Jar Jar Binks, which is always a plus.
Was Jar Jar Binks in Jar Jar Binks wasn't in the 6th movie, was he? Was he only in the first 2 of those?
Yeah, he was only in the first 2. Yeah.
They kind of faded him out. He's a Jedi though, right? He became a Jedi, right?
I don't remember.
My son said he's a Jedi. My son said he became a Jedi maybe at some Clone War or something like that, or maybe he doesn't. Maybe people don't realize that he's a Jedi or something. He said because he's sort of mystical, that he has all these, that things happen in good luck with him, and he actually does control a lot that goes on, but in a kind of chaotic way. That's what my son's 8 though, so what does he know? But he said he's got force powers, but he doesn't. I mean, he may be right, Maybe that's where they were headed, but they had so much backlash on him that they just cut him out, So I don't know. I liked it. It was kind of, it was a reboot, and it was a very, they went back to that first movie, the original Star Wars, and it just kind of mimicked it almost every step of the way. You know what I mean? It was like, they're looking for robots. They're looking for a droid.
The message. Yeah. I did pick up on that a lot. But I will say, and apparently...
Did you like the part, what about the part where Han Solo and Chewie were smuggling those creatures, and that was the creature that was in the garbage compactor on the first Death Star? Remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that one, yeah.
Because originally I always thought that was like a snake or something, but, that's them kind of rewriting history a little bit, as if that's the monster that's in that garbage compactor. Anyway, I don't know. I thought it was okay. It was force-fed, but here's the deal. My 8-year-old, my 10-year-old, they really liked it, and that's who the movie was made for, a new generation, and they needed to make the dialogue kind of clunky and signposty. Do you know what I mean? They needed to have the bad guy, at some point go, the droids are down here. Send the Imperial people. Like we already, they needed to make it like real, like labeling and saying what they're doing in the dialogue. Like, we're going to walk into this room. We're going to go get those droids. Okay, yeah, you go do that. I'm like, hey, wait a second. Those are the ones we're looking for. It's just like.
I will say that the success of it, and honestly, just my whole thought process watching the movie was, I really hope that this means that there's going to be a Spaceballs 2.
Oh, that's something we got to talk to Marlon about, because, Mel Brooks is not making a Spaceballs 2, and I don't know if maybe that would be the way to go. Maybe Marlon should take over that franchise, that title, and actually go with Spaceballs, right? Or does he make his own version of a Star Wars spoof now? Because now you've got it teed up, because you've got that Finn character who was the black stormtrooper, right?
Yeah.
So, that could play. Marlon could certainly spoof into that kind of realm right now. Although we'll talk to him about If we ever did anything like that, I would love him to play like a Lando Calrissian kind of character. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that. He'd definitely have the charm to pull it off.
Yeah, the swagger. But so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I like the movie. It was just very repetitive to the original one. It was just like they were sort of stepping in the same footprints that maybe one or two waves have sort of washed away now, and they're creating their own footprints. But there was a lot of, sort of there was so much similarity, but then they kind of kept, every time it got so similar, they had a little tiny twist on it. But obviously, my only thing is what is going to go on with Luke Skywalker there at the end, that's kind of an interesting thing. I do want to go back and watch the movie one more time and really see what's going on there. Because who is the bad guy? The guy that's up on the throne? I don't even know his name.
Which one? The one that was like the holograms, or the
hologram? Yeah.
The hologram was Snopes or something like that. Snoke? Something?
Now, and that was played by who?
Circus. Andy
Serkis. Is he credited as that character?
He might. Now that I think about it.
The girl from 12 Years a Slave or whatever it was, she plays the voice of that older creature that was like running the pirate sort of cove cantina thing that they went to. Remember, and she was 1,000 years old. That was voiced by this actress. I don't know her name. You can look it up and pop it in. But she played the voice, and then she said, "Oh, I've always wanted to do this, and I got to work with Andy Serkis on how to do it." And I'm just like, okay, so I don't know, but if he's not that character, then my suspicion is that Luke Skywalker is that character. Does that make sense?
It does, and I could see that for sure.
It's a hologram. That character's a hologram, right? And it's almost as if, is that Luke, but projecting another image as a hologram, even though he is that character, and Kylo Ren is still underneath Luke. You know what I mean? Luke trained him, and Kylo, and Luke did go to the dark side, and Luke was trying to, this whole thing was to draw out Ren, or what's her name? Rey. It's because it's almost too, think about it this way, it's almost too coincidental that Rey, who clearly has the Force in her, so she's clearly somebody's daughter, right? And somebody is hiding her from who? Who are they hiding her from? Who are they hiding her from, right? And she's on this planet, and then that just happens to be where the droids were. The coincidentals are two, who was the guy at the beginning, what was he, a Sith guy, or was he, was he was he the guy charged with making sure he always kept an eye on her? Do you know what I mean? And so my whole thing is, when they're trying to find Luke Skywalker, who's trying to find Luke Skywalker? Like when the First Order is trying to get that piece of the map, right? Remember how the First Order was looking for that piece of the map? Were they trying to get the piece of the map to protect where Luke Skywalker is? Are they trying to get it back? Or, because it seemed to me like the rebellion was trying to find Luke Skywalker. Like they needed that final piece to find Luke Skywalker. So is he the bad guy? Is he the main bad guy, and no one's ever said it? I don't know.
And will he actually talk in the next one? That's another.
Oh, he's definitely going to talk. But was this a plan to draw Rey out? Was he basically like, I need to find chick Rey? Is this whole plan to draw her there? We'll find out. I have to watch it again.
All right. Well, one of the things that sets our new podcast apart from Creech Questions is we talk about everything as listeners are already hearing with popular culture. Now, unfortunately, this past week we lost Lemmy from Motorhead, a true pioneer in the whole rock genre, and you actually got a chance to meet him. You posted a picture with him on Twitter, right?
We were Van Stone, and we would, that particular picture was from a morning radio show that we were both on, and I drank. It was 7 a.m. and we're in the green room, and Lemmy's like, you want to sit? You want to sit, mate? And, he's like, you would like a drink? A little more, wake you up? And it was basically out of his flask. It was just like, I'm positive it was probably Jack Daniels, but it was definitely whiskey. But I would imagine that was his brand of choice. But, I drank right from the flask with my lips. I didn't even wipe it. You know what I mean? It was like, okay. I was like, God damn, God knows what the hell I just got. You know what I'm saying? I got a lot of antibodies, let's just put it that way. I protected myself from a lot of things, drinking from Lemmy's flask. I'm sure he had so many antibodies from exposing himself to stuff that it just passed on to me. Now it's basically getting an immunity shot of just hookers, whores, and liquor. It's like, oh man, I got an immunity boost here, drinking from Lenny's flask, because it was, like I said, it was mostly backwash. That was my joke. I was like, I drank from Lemmy's flask at 7 a.m. and it was 80% backwash, but it was 100 proof. It's still 100 proof. So, it was cool meeting him and hanging out. And I saw him all the time at the Rainbow Room. Anyone saw him there. That was the bar, next to the Rainbow, technically above the Rainbow, just like a crap hole bar that was in the back. And he liked to play that video poker game at the bar there. And that's what they brought back to his house when he died. They brought the video poker game to his house, so he could play his favorite video games in his sort of like last days, because he was diagnosed. And this is all reading the newspaper. I wasn't talking to his mom here or whatever for this information, but he was diagnosed with cancer, and then on like December 26th, and he died literally like 2 days later. That's pretty crazy.
Oh yeah, that cancer is not no fun, and it works very fast.
Yeah, man. But Lemmy rocked hard, man. I've seen Motorhead 4 times, and he never wore earplugs. He never wore in-ear monitors. At his age, and just jam, and it was always loud. That Motorhead was loud and hard and on point. It wasn't like they jumped around a lot and did splits. He just sat there and just drilled it out on his bass and his throat, and but just super loud. And I cannot believe that he just wasn't deaf without wearing the earplugs and the in-ear monitors or something like that. Literally, this guy just let those giant stacks just jam behind him. So, yeah.
Also, this week, on the lighter side, is you now have a new official Facebook page. Now, if any of you out there want to follow Dave on his new Facebook page, it's www.facebook.com/Dave Sheridan Official. So make sure you go to that page and give it a like.
So now we interview this Katelyn.
Katelyn Nacon. Have you been keeping up with The Walking Dead recently?
I have, yeah. Now, you ran into her at the New Jersey Walker Stalker?
Yes, it was at the New Jersey Walker Stalker Con, and we talked to her mom and got everything secured to do the interview there. And she, obviously she plays Enid on The Walking Dead.
Now, the weather was good, right? This the Walker Stalker New Jersey one was when, beginning of December?
Yeah, and the weather was beautiful. It was actually really hot, surprisingly, but not too surprisingly, since it's been hot down here as well for most of the December.
Sure.
But yeah,
it's called global warming, but thank you for keeping up.
It was pretty good with the weather, and I know another thing that they announced. I don't know if you've been able to see, because I know you're always very busy. They did announce that there was going to be a Charlotte Walker Stalker Con in June. I think June or July of this year.
Ooh. Oh, I got to go to the Walker Stalker page and check that out.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could definitely either guest it up or come down and let's do some press.
Yeah, maybe both. Maybe both. But if nothing else, we should definitely do, if anything, I'll talk to James, the guy who runs it. We should definitely do the podcast stuff there. And then maybe I can host a panel or two or something. But that just sounds awesome just to hang out. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. And as soon as they announced the Charlotte one, I immediately thought of you. I was like, I think he's gonna love that.
Yeah, that's crazy. Now that one's kind of weird too because it's not that far from Atlanta. You know what I mean? You're like 3.5 hours from Atlanta. You might as well just. I understand doing one in Baltimore or doing one in Philly or, Chicago. Tulsa would be a good place to go. Places, Portland, Oregon. I don't know if they've already had one there, but Los Angeles actually would be an awesome place to do a Walker Stalker because other conventions don't tend to do well in Los Angeles because, that's where so many people live already that it's just kind of like, people don't get all that hyped about going to something. But this is a different thing because it's more like a Comic-Con. You know what I mean? It's a fan-based, weekend that's just for fun. It's not so much a collector's weekend. Some of these horror conventions are more for collectors. I got to get this guy to sign this poster. Like when I do those, you have I've got these rabid Devil Rejects fans that want to complete their poster. They've already seeked out and gotten 26 other, signatures on a Devil's Reject poster or DVD or what have you, So those are actual collectors. But at these Walker Stalker events, it's actually fans of a TV show, not so much fans of collecting. They don't have the OCD they're not all the people with the OCD that are obsessive and compulsive about collecting things. They're just really obsessive about the show itself and love it, you know what I mean, and just want to meet more fans. They're really there to meet other fans of the show and, have a great weekend and then see some of the actors that play their favorite characters and just partake in some of the panels and stuff, right? Do you agree?
I do agree.
So let's go back to that thing. So you interviewed her, and you asked me if I've kept up with the show. Yep. When does it air again now? Does that maybe come back on in February or end of January? When does it start up again?
It does return in February. It actually returns on Valentine's Day this year.
That's a good date night. Good date night for many people. And what about the Fear the Walking Dead? Is that you would think they would have tried to shotgun and they would have came back with that during the hiatus of The Walking Dead, but do you know any schedule on when that next season might start on that one?
They haven't announced a clear release date yet. I know they're filming it currently. It's supposed to be 15 to 16 episodes, and what I believe they're going to do is after The Walking Dead completes the 6th season, they're probably going to wind up starting that up in the hiatus between season 6 and 7 of The Walking Dead.
There you go. Right. The next weekend or even right after The Walking Dead finale, they'll probably have a teaser, and then the next Sunday or maybe whatever. What night was that on? Was that on Sunday nights as well, or did they
that was, yeah. Yeah, I believe it was, I think it was the same time slot. I think it was Sundays at 9.
And they did, what did they do, 6? Did they do 6 or did they do 10? How many was the original one?
It was 6.
6. And how do you like that show? How did you like it?
It was good. I definitely thought it was different, but different in a good way. You don't usually see the zombie apocalypse from the very beginning. It almost always picks up once everything's gone completely crazy. So it's kind of interesting to see a different timeline or different point in the zombie apocalypse that you don't normally see.
I'm writing one. Most of them, like with the original Walking Dead, the sheriff woke up, like a month later or something from a coma, and he's oh my God, it's sort of like, in the midst of the zombie apocalypse, correct? Right?
Yeah.
And then you've got like 28 days later, the guy wakes up and he's in the midst of the zombie apocalypse, right? So I'd like to do one where a guy just has like an all night, he's just out drinking, he passes out, and he wakes up, and he wakes up 10 years before the zombie apocalypse. So the movie really goes on for 10 years before the zombie apocalypse. We might not even ever get there. It might as well be called Sleepless in Seattle.
It could be called Fear the Walking Deceased.
Yeah, Fear the Walking Deceased, and we don't have any zombies because it's 10 years before the zombie apocalypse. It's like Fear the Walking Dead was the very start of it. Mine is like 2 years prior to it, and our story is really about me just trying to get my boat, my ski boat was repossessed, and it's all about me trying to get the ski boat back. It has nothing to do with zombies. So you caught up with her at Walker Stalker, New Jersey, and this was in the heart of there was a couple episodes remaining, correct? Or was the season already done in hiatus when you chatted with her?
Yes, the season had just ended. I believe it was the week after the mid-season finale.
So the good news is she had a great episode, right?
She did. She didn't die, which is always a good thing.
Somehow. Was that with the JSS? Just survived somehow, right?
Yes.
And she had a very good episode where she got to eat a turtle or a tortoise. She did you talk to her? Did you ask her what that was that she ate? What they really make her eat? Because then we know it wasn't a tortoise.
Yeah, I didn't ask her, but I did see an interview where she said it was, I believe it was just chicken or something like that, and that she had to eat so much of it that she just couldn't eat like chicken for months after that.
Ugh. Yeah, I hate that. I know what that's like. I totally relate to her. Okay, so. Yeah, and then you talk with her about her character. They're kind of in a love triangle. What I like about her character and what's going on with Coral, and what's the kid's name? What's the other kid's name that he's sort of the loose gun, loose cannon. They might as well name him Cannon. That'd be cool if his name was Cannon.
Actually, Cannon sounds like a badass name. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, but is he Dylan or somebody like that? What's his name?
I believe it's Ron.
What's his name?
Ron.
Ron?
Yeah.
R-O-N is the character's name? Is just Ron?
Yeah.
Oh, he's got to be Ronnie at least. Hey, Ronnie. He looks like a Ronnie maybe. Hey, Ron. Oh, let's ask Ron about it. Ron just seems like the kind of guy that's like fixing the VCR. Hey, Ron, we need the VCR fixed again. Ronnie seems like the kind of kid that stole the gun from the pantry with the bullets, and he's like, oh, shit, what's Ronnie going to do? Ronnie smoking a cigarette, and he actually burned down Alexandria. Ronnie growing pot.
Ronnie's got a gun.
Wait a second. I thought we were growing pumpkins over here. No, that's Ronnie's pot. That's Ronnie's pot crop. It's like, Ronnie, you know what I mean? The sheriff is going to be arresting Ronnie for all sorts of shit if they stay there too long. He's going to get himself into trouble. But now, so there's a little bit of a love triangle going on there, right? What I find funny about the whole gist of that situation is no matter which way you cut it, it doesn't matter if you're in a mall with nothing else to do and your parents are rich, or you're living in, Cabrini Green in the projects of Chicago, or you're in Alexandria in the heart of the zombie apocalypse. If you're a teenager, you're a teenager, right? And teenage problems are always bigger than the rest of the world problems. Irregardless to the dangers of zombies, they don't care because, they're teenagers, man. They're teenagers. They're going to drive without a seatbelt. They're going to text. They're going to get their driver's permit and text on their phone. They don't care. That's what teenagers do. So that's kind of what's going on there. Because what's her character name again? Enid?
She plays Enid, yes.
Enid. Got it. I'd have to look up Enid. I'll look up the biblical. What is Enid in the Bible? We'll have to find out what she does in the Bible there. There's a lot of biblical, undertones of The Walking Dead. Did you know that?
I did. I read an article about it.
Yeah, I did. I read an article about it. I know how to land on the. Well, do you know how to fly a spaceship, Creech? Yeah, I know how to land on the. Well, no, but I saw a Ron Howard special on it one time.
Exactly.
Okay, close enough. All right, hit blast off. Let's get out of here, man. Sounds like you know how to fly a spaceship.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I'm going to do some research on what she plays in the Jericho of it all. This Alexandria with the walls. Who's letting him in? How about, to me, I love how the balloons were the best part of that whole season so far, because you started out with the balloons and you ended with those balloons being released, right? And so I just thought that's the funniest thing in the world. Like, who got the balloons? Where'd the balloons come from? Whose job was it to blow up the balloon? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it'll make you very happy, and anybody else who loved the balloons to know during the interview, which obviously if you listen to the podcast you can't watch, but there was actually green balloons taped around where she was standing. So there was plenty of balloons going on in the interview.
Yeah, my theory is it was Eric. You know who Eric is? That character, Eric.
Yes.
I think he didn't really do much in this season, so my theory is that Eric was the guy in charge of blowing up the balloons. Like, okay, he's like, what do I do? All right, you blow up those balloons. You tie them up real good. We need them every 300 yards. So. Yeah,
well, that would be a good thing if Jordan Woods Robinson, who plays Eric, got to film doing that, because they forgot about his character. It seems I've seen him like maybe 1.5 times since the beginning of this season. So maybe that's all the deleted scenes are going to be is Eric blowing up the balloons.
Yeah. Well, the good news is he's not dead. They've never shown him getting his neck bit off or his ear, and he's in scenes. They haven't focused on, haven't given him a lot of focus or given him anything to do. So, but he gets paid as an actor. He's in there. He's probably, if there was, how many episodes? Was there 10? How many in this? Did they just air 13?
This season, 16.
They did 16 episodes?
Yeah, 8 the first half and 8 the second half.
No, I'm saying then they only played 8 so far, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, because I was about to say, guys, 16 went quick. Yeah, 8. So he was in at least 4. He was definitely in at least 4 visually. So that's getting paid. You're getting paid. You're getting your rate. As an actor, I know some actors are very particular. They want lines. They want to have the lines. They want to have that screen time. I just like getting paid. I like having a job. My job is to act. And if I can sit in my trailer and they call me out and they go, you're in the back, you're in the doctor's office, Dave. You're standing back there. You're looking worried. Okay, you got it. And you're paying me the same as this guy? Yep. And he's got a bunch of lines he's got to memorize? Yep. And I go, I'll do the guy that looks worried in the back. I'll do the worried guy. And then I'll go back and enjoy my nap in my trailer. And I got paid. That's what I like. So then, obviously she didn't get killed this season. She's going to be a very integral part of rescuing Alexandra, right, with Glenn in the next season. Don't you feel that they're going to obviously play a major role in getting everyone the heck, sweeping through and getting those zombies under control?
Oh, yeah. They've definitely got a challenge in trying to rescue everybody. Her and Glenn are definitely going to have their hands full when the show returns on February 14th, for sure.
Right. Yeah, because, with Daryl and the other characters, they got captured, right? So.
Well, I don't know if they got captured, but they're definitely in a bind, for sure.
You think they might have just handed everything over, and then they're just going to be walking on the road, like, oh, thank you, we'll take it all, you guys can go on your way? That could happen. I don't know.
I think they're gonna attack the dudes on the bike.
They're going to take them out somehow, or they're going to say
he does have the rocket launcher still.
Yeah. How? But the rocket launcher's in a case. It's in a case. It takes time to set up. You can't say when they're holding guns on you, going like, "Hey, show us your arms, hand us everything right now," and they can't go, "Well, hold on, we'll give you a moment. I got to get in the back here." Well, what are you doing? You're not putting a rocket launcher together, are you? No. I'm getting you everything. I just got a couple things I got to dig out the back seat. Well, it looks like you're putting a rocket launcher together. No, that's not what this is at all. No, this is a guitar case. Oh, a guitar case. Yeah, Nacon will really like the guitar case. you know? Yeah, it's a fender. It's a fender. Okay, well, yeah, show us what it is. But take your time. Whatever you're putting together behind the seat, like, I don't know how he's going to use the, but I do like the rocket launcher's got to come into play. I would imagine that they're going to blow up they're actually going to shoot the rocket launcher at the actual fuel truck, right? Just blow the whole thing to smithereens. So we'll see. It's going to be a bang. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so what did she give you any sort of insight on what, you know, did she slip you any good information? What's going to happen in the future of the show?
She didn't, and honestly, even if she would have, I wouldn't believe anything, because these guys are, I mean, I guess since most of them especially have been doing it for years now, they're masters at maintaining secrets and trolling the fans into thinking that certain things are going to happen, or certain people will have, like for instance, Michael Cudlitz saying that everybody was going to be screaming at their TV screens for one of the episodes, and nothing big happened at all that would cause that. So he kind of like trolled everybody. And he had said that in an interview. So like I feel like if anything, they tell me anything that that's coming up, I'm just going to believe the opposite of what that is.
Right.
And you know, and you know, even if like say, for instance, she was killed off, you know, she probably wouldn't let on that she was. She'd be like, oh yeah, we're still filming, we're having a great time filming, and meanwhile she's been dead for 4 weeks. That's what happened with Michael Trenor when we had him on the podcast forever ago. I actually interviewed him like, oh well, with your character, would you rather stay on here for a while or go out in a bang of glory? And he's like, yeah, I would love to stay on for as long as I can. And meanwhile, he's already been dead because Nicholas died in episode 3. At least his character, he'd already filmed the death about a month prior to that. But,
oh my gosh.
But still, yeah, I'd love to stay on the show.
I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could keep secrets. You know what I mean? It's definitely something that I would, I don't know how I would deal with that, to go, oh man, my character died like 7 months ago. But I've got to do interviews. What do I say? Oh man, I'd probably have to just give it away somehow. I don't know how, but.
Well, then thankfully, you are not in her position. But now, without any further ado, is the interview I conducted at Walker Stalker Con, Newark, New Jersey, with Katelyn Nacon, a.k.a. Enid from The Walking Dead. I'm here with Katelyn Nacon. She plays Enid on The Walking Dead, and we've got a couple questions for you.
Okay.
All right, first question is going to be, so far you've been on for about a full season, between seasons 5 and 6.
Yeah.
What has been your favorite memory of shooting so far?
Favorite memory? I think, like, starting to actually meet everyone and, like, create relationships with everyone on the cast and crew. That's probably been my favorite part, because everyone's just so sweet and nice.
All right. And you do shooting for 8 to 9 months, and you also go to school. How do you manage that?
A lot of time management. It's really hard, but I just have really good teachers, and they try to help me out as much as I can, and I just try to do my best and not fail all my classes.
All right. And what has been your favorite episode to work on so far from The Walking Dead?
It'd probably be Heads Up, because you got to see a lot more of Enid and kind of how she acts and the way she is, and a little vulnerability in her too, so I liked it.
Okay. And if you don't know out there, not only is she an actress, but you're also a talented singer. How many? You've got at least one CD out now, I know.
I have an EP out called Love in May.
All right. And where can they pick that up? Is it just available at cons, or can they buy it off a website?
You can get it on iTunes. You can download it on iTunes, but I also sell CDs at cons and stuff.
Okay, and lastly, just if anybody is not following you, which they already should be, of course, where can they do that at?
My Instagram is real Katelyn Nacon, and then I think my Facebook and my Twitter is Katelyn Nacon. Yeah.
Well, thank you again.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you guys for listening to the very first episode of the Dave and Creech Show.
That's right. It was a blast. It was a blast, Creech.
It was a blast, and obviously you can listen to us every week and which we will be back next week. And in the meantime, you should follow...
Wait, we're doing this thing every week? This is going to be every week?
Yeah.
I thought it was like once a month.
Oh, no. No, we go every week.
All right, every week. I'm down. That's 50. You know how many shows that is a year? 52 shows. Holy moly. We're going to have to streamline this thing because you and I just chatted for like 3 hours.
Yeah. We'll get into the groove of everything and have our ways of recording down pat, I'm sure, in 52 weeks when we look back on the first year.
Plus, if you're recording all this, you can edit some of this stuff. As, you know, it's like, oh, you know what? I might just have Dave talk about this in another episode.
Yes. I've got a lovely night of editing.
There you go.
But yes, so yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode. Make sure you follow us on all of our channels, which you should already know mine because I've said them 52 other times before now. But Dave is at Dave Sheridan.
Twitter. Yeah, at Dave Sheridan on Twitter. And I don't know, my Facebook, you just set it up, but it's going to be something, right? Dave Sheridan Official or something like that?
Yeah. It's facebook.com/Dave Sheridan Official.
Wow. That does sound official. All right.
Yeah,
All
you
right,
are now
adios,
Twitter
man.
verified and on your way to Facebook Official.
There you go. Let's get out of here.
Shut up and sit down.
Thank you for listening to The Dave and Creech Show. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of Dave and CJ. These views and opinions do not necessarily represent those of Creech Creative Productions or any of its affiliates.